Winston's 5K baby bonus. Will that bump the birth rate? Plus, acts targeting kids who are acting up in class. And finally, Parliament. A house of double standards? You'll find out more. You're with Maxim Institute's Select Committee, the political podcast that makes you smarter at the water cooler tomorrow morning. I'm joined by Marianne Spurtle, our research director, Thomas Scrimger, researcher. Great to see you guys. Great to be with you. Our lead item today, 5K for a baby. That's from the Kiwi Kids Grant from New Zealand First. That's proposed policy. $5,000 a year, tax-free for the first 3 years of a child's life. It would apply to each of a family's first 3 children, provided at least one parent is a New Zealand citizen, paid monthly, etc., etc., etc. Really interesting because this is a great diagnostic, and the response is this is a great diagnostic about our demographic decline. A lot of people are more mixed about just how much it will effect it will actually have. I want to go to you, Thomas. Demographic decline. What does that mean? Fill me in.
Well, so with demographic decline, we're talking about a declining birth rate. People are having fewer children over the course of their life, and what that means is that we have fewer workers per person who is dependent on government funds. So children cost the government a lot of money in terms of education. They're not generating tax revenue for the government, and then the elderly. We pay out a very generous superannuation scheme in New Zealand. So we have this big problem that when you have an aging population, you have fewer workers per dependent, and that kind of throws all of the books into disarray. And so essentially where we're at in New Zealand is that we have what I am bringing up constantly on the podcast, the very scary graph, that if all settings are kept the same, if we keep the same tax rates and the same spending rates, well, actually spending goes way up because the number of people who will take government spending will be going up relative to the number of workers. And so really New Zealand has 3 options to wrestle with this problem. We can maintain high levels of immigration, which we've done over the last couple of decades, or we can significantly increase taxes while keeping our services the same, or we can cut services. And we have to do one of these 3 options if birth rates remain low. It's a particular problem for New Zealand First because they're sceptical of immigration, they're in coalition with right-wing governments that don't want to raise taxes, and they're not really looking to gut spending. So New Zealand First have identified a problem, and they think we can fund people to have more babies, and that will help with this big structural issue.
I think the question too is, what kind of immigration destination will New Zealand? It's like, okay, we can immigrate our way out of this, but if we have higher taxes and fewer services, will we be the kind of destination that people go, oh, you know what, I can see my future there, if we can't see our own future? Marianne, the response generally is that this is a good diagnostic, not the best remedy. Will this work?
I mean, it won't work to shuffle money around necessarily. I think the best thing that will work here is that we're having this conversation. I think some people still think that humans are eating our way out of the planet. But even China has joined the conversation and realized that we need people to build things and grow things. And if we like the standard of living that we've grown accustomed to, we need more younger people than older people. So that is helpful, just so that people don't have this mindset that humans are a blight on the planet, because humans actually do good things as well. And as humans, we need other humans. So I think that's helpful. Will it mean more people have more babies? The handful of places this has been tried overseas, the best you can spot is a blip. One person who broke it down was saying that basically 96 cents of every dollar spent on an initiative like this is going to babies who would have been born anyway. So no, there's no evidence that this is going to mean we will, boost our way up to replacement rate.
Yeah, and my question is, and I asked this on behalf of my bride and I, do we get this retrospectively? Because we got 4 kids, we're helping you out with the prospective workers. I think, I think there's also a question here about this is a socio-cultural and possibly spiritual issue? And can governments legislate their way through that? I think there are a lot of young people go, you know what, I'm not cut out to be a parent. It looks really scary. I don't think I can do it. Okay, number one, guess what? You are not cut out to be a parent. Number two, it is really scary. Guess what? You just go ahead and do it. Anyway, that's probably not great policy advice. That's a personal note from me. Let's move to ACT. They want teachers to have more power over kids. Oh, golly, Marianne, what are ACT proposing and why?
Why? Now, this isn't going to encourage people to have kids, but New Zealand actually has some of the most disruptive classrooms in the world. One of the most recent PISA studies showed that New Zealand had the worst behavioural climate in maths classes in the entire OECD. So we don't have great control over classrooms. A recent ERO report, half of teachers in New Zealand dealt with a disruption issue every single lesson. Nearly half were losing up to 50 minutes a day managing challenging behaviour. 1 in 3 teachers see behaviours that involve damaging or taking property every day. 1 in 5 see physically harming behaviours every day. Like, are these classrooms you would want your kids to be in? So we know we've got a problem with classroom control. The current guidelines allow staff to physically restrain students as a last resort to prevent harm. So there is an argument to be made that the settings on what teachers are able to do to restore order, calling it a last resort, looking at what our results are, there is definitely an argument that we need to do something to give teachers more power to keep their classrooms in order. And we know that these things snowball. Like, if you've got a couple disruptive kids, it sparks off others. Everything just, degrades very quickly. So what they're proposing, it isn't what Ginny Anderson and one of the union bosses is saying. She said this policy will just make classrooms less safe by letting potentially untrained staff physically drag students out of the room. So you see the picture she's setting. I don't know what she thinks that they need to be trained in order to physically restrain students. It's there as a last resort. Do you need a martial arts degree? I don't know what problem she sees with this. What we're doing is we're moving the boundary line and saying it doesn't have to be a last resort to prevent, physical harm from coming. It can be moved up a little bit. So the arguments against it, I think, are making it sound like this is creating violent spaces in the classroom. Back when corporal punishment was a thing, we had more orderly classrooms. Now, was that creating more violence? It's where do we set the line here? What ACT is actually proposing is that persistently disruptive students, they can be directed to leave the classroom. So basically removing them from the situation. If they don't comply, that can get escalated to someone else within the school. If they still don't comply, then there can be a physical removing of the student. So this isn't saying, yes, drag kids out of your classroom regularly. I don't think there's any way of putting in place something that is going to consistently make everything work fabulously all the time, because what we're dealing with is a very serious problem. Behavioral problems in classrooms have no obvious answer. They're trying to get parents more engaged. And this is where the fines come in. It's not if your kid's misbehaving, you get fined. If your kid's misbehaving, we want a conversation with you because at the end of the day, the parent has the most levers to pull to get kids behaving well. If the parents don't engage, then they're given another chance. If they don't show up to a meeting, then there can be a fine. So again, this is a staged thing where only those who are the most problematic get excluded from the classroom or get fined. And I mean, what else are we going to do? But this doesn't seem like an extreme kind of policy.
Okay, Marianne's saying not extreme. What I'm hearing, Thomas, is the classroom's in chaos. Bring back the strap. It's back to the 80s.
Well, I wouldn't go quite that far. I mean, we're not talking about using corporal punishment in this legislation. It's about giving teachers more clarity and a slightly greater capacity to use physical force where necessary to remove disruptive children from the classroom. And I think it's really important when we talk about these issues is that we have to think about all the people involved. Often the discussion goes to, well, there is the teacher and there is the disruptive student, but we actually have to think about the well-being of all the students in the classroom. If teachers do not have the ability to maintain an orderly classroom where all children feel safe and able to learn in it, that's actually really bad for all the children in the classroom. And so while we do not want to create the situation where teachers are unnecessarily escalating conflicts with students, at the same time, if we cannot exclude disruptive students from the classroom, that's tremendously unfair to children who are there to learn. And that, we can then have a conversation about what does it mean to look after those children who are disruptive. There can be a range of causes in their life that makes them more likely to be disruptive in the classroom. But the solution can't be to let them stay in the classroom and disrupt the education of all those other students who may also come from difficult circumstances and need the education system to help them thrive in life.
So in a sense, this is about protecting the silent majority of students. Let's, speaking of chaos, some chaos in Parliament recently. Let me break it down for you. Winston Peters called someone a liar. Now that is something that is forbidden. It's a standing rule. The Greens complained about that because the Speaker did not pull him up on it. They said there were double standards, at which point Gerry Brownlee kicked out Chlöe Swarbrick, who then doubled down on the double standards mantra. Thomas, do you want to unpack this for us?
Yeah, well, I'd like to start actually by bringing us back to this teachers in the classroom business. Parliament literally has a guy, a sergeant-at-arms, who's tasked with being responsible for forcing people to leave Parliament if they do not comply. He carries like a giant ceremonial mace. So, I'm just saying, should schools also have a sergeant-at-arms with a ceremonial mace? So I think this is kind of the latest incident in what is an ongoing problem in Parliament. We have, at the moment, a really disorderly Parliament, and there's a range of reasons going into it. So as you say, Winston Peters called someone a liar, and it is against the rules of the House to do that because it is assumed that every member of the House is honourable. That the idea is that all members of the House come to debate in a sincere and good faith manner. And so then kind of a corollary to that is if members ever make a false statement in the House and later become aware of that, they're expected to come and acknowledge that, withdraw and apologise. So Winston Peters makes this comment, the Speaker does not kick him out, and Chlöe Swarbrick quite fairly says this is against the rules of the House. There's no ambiguity here. He didn't imply someone was a liar. He said it. He used the word you're not allowed to, and he was not removed from the House. And I think the reason that Swarbrick's comment is getting cut through is there certainly appears to be a lot of dissatisfaction with how Gerry Brownlee has been Speaker. He runs a relatively loose ship, and in part that's deliberate on his part. He doesn't want it to be a tightly managed debate, but it basically means Parliament now is incredibly frictious and not conducive to really robust debate of ideas because everyone is just having a squabble and heckling. So I think we are in a real problem here because if Parliament can't have those debates, what is it for?
Great question, Marianne. If Parliament can't actually robustly debate policy, but in fact is a collection, a barrage of name-calling, performance-based modes, then what are we actually doing?
Yeah, we're turning Parliament into a Twitter feed. The rules are there so that a standard can be kept. As soon as you have double standards, and Chloe named it there, her being kicked out of the House kind of proved her point. So I don't think she's sad about being kicked out. I think that was a misstep on Gerry's part. So if we don't want it to degrade like that, then the rules, they're there for a reason. They are good ones. Everyone needs to keep them, no matter what your seniority.
So I don't know whether this will actually get cut through as a political brand, because really who follows Parliament that closely except for tragics? But I would really love for a party to come out really strongly with their own code of conduct for here is how we behave, for party whips to enforce that and to be like, we are going to be the grown-ups in Parliament. Because I think Swarbrick is naming something that perhaps Gerry Brownlee is not calling everything fair, but I think across the House there has been a decline in standards. And so for someone to say, we are the party that will conduct ourselves in the House this way because it matters, I think would be a really valuable thing for someone to do. So I would love for a party to make standards in the House their own personal brand, regardless of how they feel about the Speaker.
And just leveraging off that too, I think we're complaining. We often find ourselves complaining about the polarisation in the public square, and we blame a a bunch of things. We say MMPs to blame because it rewards extremity. Yeah, that's possibly true. Social media, which again rewards extremity, the algorithms, is possibly true. This situation has suggested to me too that what we're seeing is an overflow from a dynamic that exists in Parliament. So, you could say, okay, polarisation's to blame. You could say social media's to blame. Oops, Parliament's to blame as well. And these things all flow together. Maybe we could get ACTS to write that code, given that they've done that thing with the teachers. Let's move to what you've probably all been waiting for. It's Fantasy Beehive. Let me say that again. It's Fantasy Beehive. Who's up? Who's down? Who's not paying? We track a collection of a trio of MPs, and we let you know who's doing the best. Thomas, do you want to tell us how that's done?
Yes, every week we pick our MPs for the week ahead. So last Thursday, we're recording this on a Wednesday now. Last Thursday we made our picks. Which 3 MPs do we think are going to do well this week? A government MP, an opposition MP, and a wild card to see who might do something. And we track their activity across the week. That's their bills that their name is attached to in the House that pass through readings. That's questions they ask in the House, written questions they ask, as well as their media cut through. Are they getting their name out there in the public? So we're trying to capture, so far as we can discern by scraping the internet, who is doing work that is kind of contributing to their aims as an MP. But of course, not all media is created equal. So we also have our voter impression and broad evaluation survey, which is the vibes score. If the media is there, but it's not good, we can deduct some points as well. So taken together, we generate a score for the week and see how we did. Okay,
Marianne, who was your front runner?
Christopher Luxon.
Okay, so that's the one that you picked. So I guess what I'm saying is I don't want to know how you did, but
okay.
Your front runner. Who was
He was the
major
highest
performer
scorer for this week.
Yeah, why'd you pick him?
Because he's Christopher Luxon, and I was just trying to get some big names in there of people who are likely to get media. Do you want to know why he got media, or are we waiting? Okay.
Not just yet. Okay. Actually, yeah, a little bit. Go on.
A little bit or all of it?
Give us a little bit.
Well, he misspoke. Is that little enough?
This is the apology. Is that right? In
media points for humble pie.
Okay.
Which I didn't see coming, but that got me 9 points.
Great. Thomas, your front runner.
So I'm going to say 2 front runners for me. I had Erica Stanford and Barbara Edmonds, power duo. Barbara Edmonds is strong on as the Labour spokesperson on finance issues and is pretty staunch in the House. And Erica Stanford has both education and immigration, so plenty of opportunities there to get comment through.
Okay, I picked Lawrence Yunnan, and that's because he was the subject of the brouhaha with Winston Peters. I thought, he's going to surf a bit more of that through the House. Also, very well known for offering correct questions, written questions. He's the guy who's done the most written questions, the most questions in the House this year. And so I picked him. Okay, so he was one of my he was the one that I sort of thought, okay, this is the front runner. How did you do, Marianne?
Well, I only got 1 additional point, Megan Woods in Parliament, so I have 10 points all up.
10 points, okay. So
almost all on Luxon apologising.
Humble pie pays dividends in the... Are we going to do a vibes rating for this? Because a PM eating humble pie, is that good?
It's mixed, isn't it? Because, we want people who can apologise. And it was apologising for something that was not particularly,
It wasn't very serious.
It was just, some people could have their feelings hurt, basically.
He made some slightly condescending remarks to some a small business
hypothetical
audience, which is not the biggest sin in the world.
No.
But the fact that it kind of became more of a news cycle than it should have been is not ideal. I reckon we'll deduct 1 vibes point.
That might have been deducted by the algorithm.
Ooh.
We don't know.
We don't understand how the algorithm works. It is a great mystery.
We don't understand it, but we love it. Thomas, how about you?
Well, so my 2-point scorers in Stanford and Edmonds were both really about Luxon. They were both Barbara Edmonds got her name in some media hits because she was criticising Luxon because his comments were about a small business audience, and so she was getting her jabs in about the economy. Erica Stanford was sort of offering an apologetic on Luxon's behalf. And so I'm not sure how to handle that as a vibes point, because she's trying to dig the leader out of a little bit of a hole, but does she undermine him by doing it? What are the feelings? Are there any vibes points deducted for that?
She's doing her job.
Yeah, that's fine.
Keeping the full points. So I have 9 points overall.
9 and 9. I'm
10 and
laughing.
9. 10 and 9.
Pardon me, 10. Well, didn't we?
Yeah, the vibes were okay. We'll let her keep the full 10.
All right. Well, look, Lawrence Junan ended up only getting 4 points, but I'm going to praise him for not taking the bait in an interview with Tova O'Brien. She wanted to talk about Winston Peters being mean. He decided he wanted to talk about green policy. Great work. The one that bolstered me was Chris Penk. I got 10 points for him, and that's because he had a second reading of a building and construction sector amendment bill. So Chris Penk, Minister of Building, also Minister of Defence, and there was defence stuff going around as well. So he got 10 points. Plus I chose Carmel Cepoloni, who lodged 6 written questions. My total, are you ready? 18 points.
Well done. Grand winner,
Yep.
Tim.
More enthusiasm, guys.
I gave you enough enthusiasm.
Yeah, that'll cover it.
Yeah.
And there you have it. That is Maxim's Select Committee. Great to see you. Now, we see that many of you are subscribing. Go ahead, do it. That way you get more of this more regularly. Who wouldn't want that? See you next week.